If your life has changed significantly in your 50s, a divorce, a separation, or something else that shifted the whole picture, your retirement plan probably needs to change with it. Because most retirement plans are built around a set of assumptions: a combined income, a shared asset base, a particular timeline. And when those assumptions change, the plan needs to be rebuilt, not just adjusted. So in this video, I want to walk through what actually matters when you're resetting a retirement plan midlife. Not to minimize how significant that process is, because it is significant, but because understanding where to focus makes the rebuild a lot more manageable than it might feel right now. And in most cases, the position is more workable than people initially think. This comes up in my work more than people would expect. And what I notice consistently is that the people arrive at this conversation carrying two things simultaneously: the practical questions: what do I actually have? What do I need? How do I get from here to retirement on my own? And underneath those, a quieter concern: have I left it too late? The honest answer to that is almost always no. But the path forward looks different to what it did before, and understanding that path clearly is where the rebuild starts. This is general in nature, so it's important to consider your own situation, because everyone's circumstances are different. But what I'm going to walk through applies broadly enough to be worth understanding. The first thing is to get a clear picture of where you actually stand. Not where you thought you'd be, not where you would have been if things had gone differently, where you actually are. And for a lot of people going through a significant life change in their 50s, that picture is still being formed. Settlements take time, asset divisions take time, the dust takes time to settle. But as soon as you have a reasonably clear picture of what you're working with, super balance, any property or investments, income, debts, that's the starting point. Not before and not much later than that. The super question is often the first one people focus on, and it's an important one. Super splitting is available in Australia as part of a divorce settlement. It's not automatic, it has to be negotiated and formalised, but it means super accumulated during a marriage can be divided between both parties. If you're in the process of a settlement and the super hasn't been part of that conversation, it probably should be. And if the settlement is already complete, understanding exactly what you have and what you need to build from here is the starting point for everything else. The second thing is to reframe the retirement timeline, because one of the most common mistakes I see people make in this situation is measuring themselves against a timeline that no longer exists. The original plan assumed two incomes, two sets of contributions, a shared cost base in retirement. That plan is gone, and grieving it is understandable, but rebuilding from it requires a different set of assumptions. What does retirement look like for one person? What does it actually cost to live the life you want on your own? What assets do you have, and what do you need to build between now and retirement? Those questions have answers, and in most cases, the answers are more workable than the initial panic suggests. The third thing is income, and specifically, your capacity to build between now and retirement. For someone in their 50s with 10 or 15 years of working life remaining, that's a meaningful window. Super contributions, salary sacrifice if your income allows it, catch-up contributions if your balance is below $500,000. These aren't small levers. Used deliberately over a decade, they can meaningfully change the retirement position. And for someone who is now the sole earner in their household, understanding exactly what's available and how to use it is one of the most important planning conversations to have early. The fourth thing is property, and this one is often the most emotionally loaded. A family home that was shared is now either retained by one party or sold, and the financial implications of that decision extend well beyond the settlement itself. Someone who retains the family home may find themselves asset rich, but cash poor and super poor. The property has value, but it doesn't generate income. It has costs, and eventually it needs to either be sold or downsized. Someone who doesn't retain the home may have more liquid assets, but no property base, and a different set of questions about housing in retirement. Neither outcome is automatically better or worse. but both require a clear-eyed look at what the asset base actually means for retirement income and lifestyle. The fifth thing, and this one is less talked about, is the cost of living as a single person. Couples benefit from shared costs: one mortgage or rent, one set of utilities, shared transport, shared everything. Retirement as a single person costs more per person than retirement as part of a couple. Not dramatically more, but meaningfully more. And building a retirement plan that reflects the actual costs of your life rather than half of a shared life is one of the adjustments that makes the biggest practical difference. So what does the rebuild actually look like in practice? A few things worth focusing on. First, get the clearest possible picture of your current position: super, assets, income, debts. As soon as the dust has settled enough to do that, do it. Second, make sure super has been properly addressed in any settlement. If it hasn't, get advice before anything is finalised. Third, reframe the plan around your actual life. Not the life that was, the life you're building. What does retirement look like for you specifically? What does it cost? What do you need? What's the realistic timeline? Fourth, look at what you can build from here. Contributions, salary sacrifice, catch-up contributions if they apply. A decade of deliberate building from a clear starting point changes the picture significantly. And fifth, don't try to do this alone. Not because it's too complicated, but because having a clear, structured view of your position built around your actual circumstances is a thing that turns an overwhelming situation into a manageable one. Starting over in your 50s isn't where anyone plans to be, but it's where a lot of people find themselves. And the ones who navigate it best aren't the ones who had the most to start with. They're the ones who got clear on their position early, built a plan around their actual life, and gave themselves enough runway to make it work. That's available to almost anyone in this situation, including you. This is general in nature, so it's important to consider your own situation because everyone's circumstances are different. But the framework I've described gives you your starting point. And if you're in this situation right now, the earlier you get clarity on your position, the more options you have. If you're approaching retirement and want structured guidance rather than figuring this out alone, I work with Australians in exactly that position. You can find details below.